All right, everyone. This is video number 5, the 5th and final video of our Building a Campaign step-by-step video series. The last 2 bullet points, the Mighty Quest Giver and Hope and Danger. Let's jump right into it. The Mighty Quest Giver, bullet point number 9. What does this mean? Every session, and persisting throughout the entire campaign, always have someone, typically it's going to be someone, a living, breathing thing, or at least something that you can lean into, that your PCs can lean into to find missions, to find quests. I saw and read something of interest recently where they said, who is your wizard? Right? Think of the iconography here, or at least the image that this conveys to you. Who is the wizard that lives way up on a hill that has a pet dragon that hands out quests to the group? Who is the commander that you're working under? Right? You're a part of some militaristic faction. The Boros Legion, let's say, from Ravnica. Your commander is going to dole out various missions. We need you to go to the Rubble Belt. The Gruul are causing problems. The Azorius Senate need an escort of a key prisoner between one courthouse and another, and they are tasking us as the Boros Legion. Therefore, I am delegating this down to you, foot soldiers. Ensure that that prisoner is escorted and unharmed, right? Maybe it's a motherly figure. All of the PCs are kind of linked together by a common motherly figure, someone that they all greatly respect. For a few of the PCs, maybe this motherly figure took care of them, like they were orphans. For others, they just greatly trust this individual. And that individual has a task that needs completing that they cannot do on their own. Someone stole something of importance from me. Please go out and retrieve it. I can give you a map and a little bit of information, some rumors that I've heard about as to who took the item that was stolen from me to point you in the right direction, but please go out and do that. That is the quest giver, right? The DM comes up with adventure hooks, story. Yes, as we've talked about already in the previous video and with the other bullet points, your PC's backstories can start to inform the direction of your game. But at the end of the day, it's upon you as the dungeon master. Yes, I always talk about weaving through the character's actions and allowing them to build your story, to build your world. But it's upon the dungeon master to ensure that you have something on the back burner, that you always have some means and or method of being able to provide some direction for your players. If there's a lull, they just finished the big boss fight, they killed the villain, and there's you're going to have a half a session of changing the music, a celebration, a party, enjoying a warm meal. You don't have the adrenaline pumping, white-knuckled moments where, are we going to die and this is a tough fight? No. A bit of just, what is it, the denouement, I think they call it, or something like that, right? After the climax is finished of the story, right? The moment where we just wrap up. But unless you're going to end the campaign and say, okay, guys, that was the big boss villain of the entire campaign, we are done. The dragons are all dead. You saved the world. You go and retire. You've all ascended in the pantheon and you now become gods. And we're going to play a new game starting next week. Unless that's the case, you're still going to continue playing. If they finish the boss battle, in my case, at 4 p.m., we're still playing till 9 p.m. I need more work or I need more content to churn through. We're going to be playing next week. So what is next? Just like they say in life, as you start to approach and you can see just on the horizon, just within reach, you're starting to reach that goal, to accomplish that task, however long it may have taken you to get there. Start thinking through a new goal. Life abhors a vacuum. It doesn't like to just sit stagnant. Okay? Start thinking about what's next. Otherwise, you're going to, especially in D&D, specifically in D&D, you're going to have this sort of lull. Your pacing is going to just go from what is logical and what should happen, where after a big climactic situation, you do want to have a little bit of a slow moment, right? To enjoy and relish in the victory. But once that settles in, don't let the energy just stay flat. No. The music. What's next? What's next? So have a quest giver. Have a means of doling out various quests. Something that the PCs always know If we don't know what to do, or we don't like the current direction or the story arc that the DM is putting us on, one player is, I'm not feeling this. Like, can I make a new character? Hold on. Why are you making a new character? What's going on? You don't like your character? No, I like it. This character doesn't fit with the current storyline. I don't like how dark it's going. My character is all about light. I don't feel like they fit in. Can I make it? No. Back up. It's about you. You're the player. Don't make a new character. I'll change the story. But if you have a means of, let's go and talk to the NPC. Let's see if he has something else to give you. Right? You do as a DM. You've got notes. You should have a few little bullet points or different things of go rescue the kidnapped prince. Go clear out the spiders in the woods. Investigate the curse in the tomb. Figure out who the hell is uprooting graves. Escort a high priest from one temple to another. Find a secret ingredient that's missing from this halfling faction's, larder. They want to make the world's best pie, but the key ingredient is gone. Retrieve the magic item. You've got all these different things, right? Different storyline. They can all go different directions. But who's the central thing? NPC, or the job board, if you will, or that book that they can always open, and there's always a quest there. Because what you do is you allow more of a sandbox aspect, right? You allow a little more freedom, a lot more freedom, for not only, indicating to your PCs that, yes, you have the freedom to choose a different option if you don't want to go this way for the next 5 sessions. But you offer, the PCs have a physical, tangible thing, an NPC, a wizard up on the hill that owns a dragon. They know if they go see that wizard is always going to have a mission, a task for them. So if there's nothing else to do, or they don't like what they're doing, they know where they can go to find a new job. So always have a central place where you can go for adventure hooks. And it can be multiple places. The Thieves Guild always has these sort of jobs. Elder Scrolls Online, the MMO, is brilliant at this, right? You can be along the Thieves Guild quest line. You can be along the Dark Brotherhood Assassins quest lines. You have the main storyline. Video games are excellent at this. But where do you go? I just hit J for journal, or L for lore tab, right? Or B for book, maybe backpack. And I open up something and you see bullet points. And the ones in red are main storyline ones. The ones in, and maybe they're ordered by difficulty. Ooh, you're not ready for this one yet. This is orange. The green ones are in the area that you're currently in, right? I mean, wow. Exclamation points. That was a very brilliant thing, because when you're sitting back and you're just not sure where to begin. Okay, let's just go to the village and everything with an exclamation point. Talk to them. They're going to give me something to do. Use the video game aspect for that, because that is how you can maintain consistent pacing. Okay? So always have a mighty quest giver. And then finally, this one I mentioned early on in many videos, that you may weave through these at whatever way you want to go. It doesn't have to be in a specific order. This one I do like to use kind of towards the end of each session. I always like to, kind of like, which is the one I talked about, Tell Them a Secret, where I talked about like a cliffhanger. I like to offer hope and danger at the end of the session. Something they've done during the course of that session creates a feeling of hope. They are hopeful that they will get the job done. Especially when you haven't reached the climax yet, right? They're rescuing a key NPC, and by the end of the session, they have not rescued that NPC yet, right? But they've gotten, they've made progress. They've spoken to a few key NPCs, other NPCs. They've learned exactly where this key NPC that they are supposed to rescue, they've learned where that person is being imprisoned. They've learned about the captors. They've learned what village they need to go to find this individual, what dungeon they need to delve to the bottom of in order to rescue that NPC. They've learned that. Now, they haven't done it yet. But what you can do is you can start including little bits, and maybe they can be secrets. Notice how this all weaves into other things. Little bits that offers hope. Because then what that also does is it gives your real life players this excitement and this energy to want to show up next session. They are hopeful. They're like, okay, not only do we know what dungeon the NPC is being held in, we either have the key or we know where the key is. Like, we know there's going to be some obstacles in that dungeon, but we feel ready for that. And I can't wait to get back next weekend to play so we can progress and move forward, right? You offer hope. Always offer hope of sort of what's next. But then the flip side of that, always kind of present a level of danger. Offer a bit of a warning, a cautionary tale. Something that reminds the players, kind of, you might want to bring a backup character next week. I think when you offer both of these things, hope and danger, in whatever quantities or qualities, but as long as you offer some aspect of this, that is really, one of the strongest elements of building a campaign. Because remember, we're never just creating a single session. We're stacking you approach everything with the creation of one session, but we're ultimately stacking sessions on top of sessions to create an entire long 2-year, 3-year campaign. And hope and danger is a good way that you kind of sort of unveil the crystal ball, if you will, and show them a little bit of peek as to this is how cool things might get coming up. That item your character's been searching for that you wrote about in your backstory, it's out there. It's right there. You know where it is now. You know where to go. When you can get your players to start thinking when you're not playing, like in the week in between sessions or the days in between your next session, and they're brainstorming of, oh my gosh, what's next? What questions do I want to ask my DM? When you can do that, you're starting to build a level of excitement. You're doing it right. But also when you give a sense of danger, as though, they've got to put forth the effort. They've got to come to the table fresh, bring their snacks, bring their drinks, sleep well the night before. Be ready, because this is not going to be easy. I believe you just create a level of suspense, a level of mystery, and most importantly, just a level of anticipation and excitement. And if you can combine that hope and danger and build the excitement in between sessions and then arrive at the session and focus on the first 5 minutes of the session, you will begin with a foundation of excitement that everyone can launch themselves to the moon off of. And that is when your campaign, the entirety of it, will start to flourish. So that's the 9th and 10th bullet point. Very, very quickly before we end it, let's kind of do a little recap a little bit, okay? Remember, our inspiration began with bullet point 1. I found a miniature on my shelf. It's a Dracolich, but I didn't want to lean into the dragon aspect. I wanted to lean more into the undead and necromancy part. Everything we've talked about to this point points to the second bullet point, which we've started giving us some direction as to what things we need to build and make. That mighty quest giver, who is he? What's his name? Write down a couple of 5, 6 names. Different races, different ancestries, whatever you want to call it. Here's 4 dwarven names, male. Here's 4 dwarven names, female. Here's some orcish names. Here's some human names. Look at the back. I think it's Xanathar's guide. It has a beautiful section on from different cultures, names. Okay? What are a small fight? That kind of informs what miniatures you need to paint, what terrain you need to build. Tell them a secret. If the secret deals with a little bit of a dungeon and your players start asking some questions, have a little map of saying part of the secret is the guy you go to a nearby town to inquire about this secret and he hands you this map. It doesn't have to be accurate. That's part of the secret, is unraveling the truth behind it all. But he hands you some crude map that you just sketched on graph paper. And it just says dungeon is here, treasure is here, big bad monster's here, and there's a hole. Social exploration. Notice this goes back to prep and cheat sheets. What are they exploring? What are the images you want to turn around on your iPad and say, as you journey through the forest, this is what it looks like. One of them looks wide open, like it's a lot of clearings and druid groves. The other one looks like Fangorn Forest. So you know what images to look for. You know what music you might want to use. Establishing the world's uniqueness. Use that element combined with inspiration of necromancy and undead. Use that and weave that through everything. Right? The mighty quest giver. If the mighty quest giver is a Kenku sitting in a bubble surrounded by Modron in some sort of a gearsmith machine with... You've just indicated a lot about the uniqueness of your world. Everything feels very artificery and Eberron-esque and more steampunkish with Kenku. That says a lot. Hope and danger. Maybe hope and danger ties into the backstories of one of your PCs and getting into the stuff that I talked about in that video, in the previous video. And then boil it all down to, write it down, practice it as I mentioned. What are you going to talk about in the first 5 minutes of the session? What's going to get that excitement going? Like I said, if you've done the hope and danger part appropriately, you've built the suspense in between sessions. And now the first 5 minutes, we're answering some of those quick questions. Maybe the first 5 minutes ties into your prep in that you come to the table with some awesome box, like a puzzle box you bought on Amazon, and you just leave it there and you say, that physical, that real life prop, we're going to try and open that today. That's the Pandora's box of the world. That is a phylactery for a nearby, for a lich that you heard about as part of the secret. Notice how we're talking lich. Where did that come from? I'm in the necromancy undead space because of my inspiration. And you start weaving through these things, but you funnel each one through the 10 and you think of, okay, do I have a secret? Do I have something to do for social and exploration pillar of gameplay? Okay, what am I going to say in the first 5 minutes? Okay, hold on. I'm not ready for that. What do I need to prep? Okay, I need a map. I need images of the NPC that they're going to meet, who's the quest giver. And then is the quest giver going to be the one that's going to tell them about the hopeful and dangerous thing coming up in the next session? Or hold on, wait a minute. I need to go back to my character's backstory. Who was talking about that quest giver? Like, if the quest giver, the guy with the exclamation point over his head, is one of the NPCs or the father of one of the PCs mentioned in a backstory, it adds more value, especially to that PC, right? But you'll notice you just weave through those 10 for the entirety of each session during your prep time. And as you do that in different quantities and quality, you'll build a pretty damn compelling session. And then you stack that on top of one another. Most importantly, take all the notes. Listen to what your players are saying. Pay attention to how they respond to the things you say, to the handouts that you give. Someone's, a group that says, dude, I love your coffee stain burnt edges of your parchment. Like, everything feels so... Keep doing that. Ahead of time. Grab 50 pieces of cheap-ass printer paper that you buy from the store. You probably get it at Dollar Tree. And just burn them all, right? And use that to scrawl calligraphy on, or a big Sharpie marker. Listen to the feedback of your players. Take notes on that stuff and do more of it. I hope this video series has helped someone. And moving forward, it's now going to be back to our regularly scheduled programming. This is the 5th and final video of Building a Campaign step-by-step video series. Thanks, everyone. Go out there and make some awesome adventures. See you later.